Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying time is here. That's right, we're talking about Final Destination on Kill by Kill. Well, greetings and salutations, Internet. It's your old pal, Patrick Hamilton, coming to you once again from what the Internet tells me is Long Island, although it really feels like somewhere mid-state New York. I don't know. I researched it for 5 minutes. This is the Kill by Kill podcast, where we are dedicated to celebrating the least discussed component of any horror film, the characters. We're going to unpack all the goriest of details of 2000's Final Destination in the hopes that a teenager's untimely end is just the beginning of the jokes that we might make at their expense. And as always, there's only one person that I trust, that if she hangs up all of her niceties along the laundry line in my bathroom, she will pick it out before I have to take a shower. The one, the only, Gina Radcliffe. How are you doing today, Gina?
Thank you for not saying anything about being on an airplane, because I need to not have a panic attack just talking about this plane crash scene.
Yeah, no, it's completely understandable. Especially the way it's introduced, which I had forgotten how callous everyone is. Once they get on the plane, they immediately start prognosticating how it's not going to go down. It's like, ooh, we're hitting nails right on the head here.
Yeah, just a little bit.
And these are the most shovey teenagers I've ever seen in my life. They're constantly shoving the fuck out of one another.
Pushing each other around. Put each other in headlocks. They're all like 18 years old.
Yes. We'll get into it. But first, Gina, before we start talking about costuming problems, we are not alone. I don't want to scare you, but we got a special guest. Now, you might know him from all sorts of movie and TV projects, from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to Brooklyn Nine-Nine. His latest is his memorable appearances on Disney Plus's The Book of Boba Fett, the one, the only Galen Howard. How are you doing today, Galen?
Hey, I'm doing great. I am excited to talk about young people dying horribly creative deaths.
That's right. They're just one step, and all of us are just one step from death. But here, that one step goes way out of its way.
Yeah, and there's a whole I mean, if only all of us could have a diagram of our order of death. I mean, I would like that. I'm also not sure how he got that seating plan, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, well, we will get to that. It would be nice if we had, like, those old-fashioned dance charts where you would see the feet on the floor and it'd be like 1, 2, and then an arrow over to the 3. But at the end of it, death. I think it would solve a lot of problems.
Well, absolutely.
So Final Destination, it's our second franchise of this particular season. We're going overboard this year. But Final Destination, I feel, is a little underserved. I wouldn't say it's it feels like it's fallen into a weird crack where it does not certainly have the status of a Halloween or a Friday the 13th. And it also doesn't seem to have the status of a Scream or even a 2000s film. It's sort of weirdly in the middle here. And
it's not quite subversive. It's not. Yeah, it doesn't follow the same tropes of the trend of films at that time.
Yes, other than the fact that it is filled to the brim with hot teen actors. Some of them drop from other movies, others from TV. They're mixing them together. The poster, them all in a deep V, just the way you want to see horror characters.
Oh, it's that classic poster structure. Yeah, that classic design.
But there's something that I've always liked about Final Destination. There's a bit of subversive nature to it. And I also believe it is a bit of an innovation. Like, it just has to be acknowledged on this show when we have a bit of slasher technology innovation, whether it's from Black Christmas to Halloween, or Halloween to Friday the 13th, or Friday the 13th to Nightmare on Elm Street, Nightmare on Elm Street to Child's Play to Scream. And then I feel like Final Destination, it has a differentiation point from the Scream films in that it is a prototypical slasher without the prototypical slasher villain. He's not personified.
Right.
You don't have to wonder who's underneath the mask. It's not a mystery. You don't have to go, oh, well, how can you kill him? He's undying because he is death. And they kind of
some would argue it's the ghost of Rube Goldberg.
Sure. Haunting them all.
And I personally cannot think of a worse way to be killed than by the ghost of Rube Goldberg.
I don't even have a copyright for this machine that I have. I'm not sure how Rube talked.
I don't know. I don't either.
Does he talk like Jack Horseman?
I mean, why not?
Yeah.
So for me, Final Destination is an interesting innovation, and it sets its own tropes up, which another movie really can't quite copy. Several movies now have tried to kind of inch into this territory, your bye-bye mans, as it were, have attempted this, and I don't think any of them have really come close to it, which is why, wouldn't you know it, as soon as we announce what we're going to do, somebody who owns the rights to it's like, let's make one of these things. And this is true here. Final Destination will be made as some sort of thing for HBO Max, apparently. So we will have that to look forward to. But as we do in most of these things where we start a new franchise, we want to know where people have seen this before. So Gina, did you catch this in theaters, or was this something I foisted upon you?
Well, neither actually. But
Okay.
as you know, this is the only one in this entire series that I've actually seen.
Okay. Yes.
I do know a lot of the kills from the later movies. Like I know the gymnast one, and I know the kid that gets flattened by the pane of glass. And
Is this the most gift horror franchise?
I'm
of
pretty
all of them?
sure it is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. But this one I did watch, like, I must have seen it on cable. I know I definitely didn't see it in the theater. So probably, God, maybe 15 years ago. I remembered a lot about it, but
Sure.
this is only the second time I've seen it.
Okay. How about you, Galen?
Also, neither. I had I saw it actually for the first time just last year around Thanksgiving or Halloween rather. And I think it was one of those expiring on HBO Max, so I saw it that way. But I think I avoided a lot of films like this when they were contemporaries. When I was in high school, and kind of came to the whole horror genre a bit late. In fact, but I saw this one just about last year, and I think, and then I made it, I think, about halfway through the second one and got distracted.
Put it on the DVD box. I watched it till I got distracted. Galen out.
Yeah. I saw the big pile up car crash. That was cool. And then I was like, I think that's the price of admission. I'm good.
Yeah, I enjoyed this. I did, but I also don't know if there need to be 8 of them or however many
5?
there are.
There's 5, right?
There are 5 currently. Yes,
currently.
I will say that I find them satisfying in the sense that the things that I liked about Friday the 13th as a franchise, I also kind of like about Final Destination. There's just enough wit. The people are just pretty enough to be on camera. There's sometimes the skill level is high and sometimes the skill level is way low. And the characters are only on screen for so long, so that it gives you the opportunity to fill in the gaps of what these people might be, because the movie tends to not tell you. So from that standpoint, I really enjoy it. And the other component of it that very much feeds into my mania is that it was originally designed to be an X-Files episode. And I was extremely into the X-Files in the 90s, to the point which I attended an X-Files convention in Burbank, California, and watched the premiere of the Millennium preview on a screen and clapped afterwards as if what I had seen was good. That's how into the X-Files I was.
You were
Like,
committed. You were committed.
any extension of this has to be fantastic. So Jeffrey Rennick, who's the original screenwriter here, wrote this as a spec script for the X-Files. And his intention was for Scully's brother to have this premonition and then to then have Death kind of try to catch up to him.
with like killing off his friends, presumably.
I don't believe it was friends. I believe it was random people that he was also on the airplane with.
Got it.
But it was some sort of like, and it probably wouldn't have been as many people because you've got what, like 44 minutes at that time to actually conclude an X-Files episode.
Yeah, so it'd be like a 1, 2, 3.
You only have as many people as act breaks is more than likely what would have happened.
One per act probably.
Right. And so while this never makes it really to the X-Files, it does, the script gets floated over to New Line Pictures and they're like, all right, we haven't had a horror hit in a minute. And there's something to this that really works, right? Screams out, horror's hot. Let's make these people teenagers and let's, make this feature length. So he's hired to do the first draft. And he kind of, what comes out of that Riddick draft is that death is neither seen nor personified. It's just a larger movie-sized shape of the idea. Meanwhile, they're shopping this around to various writers and directors, and they happen upon James Wong and Glenn Morgan, two vets of the X-Files themselves. And they're looking to make the jump from TV to movies after Space Above and Beyond kind of collapses underneath them on Fox. So they get recruited by New Line to kind of direct and write as a team with the goal of like, let's make the characters a bit more pronounced and individual. Let's make the death sequences more suspenseful. And they up the Rube Goldberg game of all of this. And then they're adding more mythology to the concept about death and his design, as it were. So Wong, just to quote from him, says, the one thing that we were all in agreement on from the start is that we didn't want to do a quote unquote slasher movie. I think he fails in a good way on that one. But I became very excited when we decided to make the world at large in the service of death our antagonist. Everyday objects and occurrences then begin to take on ominous proportions, and it becomes less about whether or not our characters are going to die, which is the prototypical way of a slasher movie, and more about how they will die and how they can delay those deaths. The entertainment value is in the quote-unquote ride, not in the outcome. And by placing the premise of the film on the inevitability of everyone's death, we play a certain philosophical note. So you can... They start weaving a bit of humor into this, which would be kind of Glenn Morgan's sort of deal. For example, he had experienced the thing of being in an airport and hearing the John Denver song and thinking to himself, why would you play a song of a guy who recently died in a plane crash over the PA system? That is kind of the setup for this. That's why Final Destination, I feel like, makes the franchise cut for this, because there's an innovation and a flair to it. And while this particular edition of it doesn't quite get to the high gore that it will eventually get, I think it does. It gets to that place where gore is placed on a priority once the MPA kind of backs off of the, I don't want to see blood and guts on screen thing. And this movie benefits from it wildly. It's a fun franchise with characters who they barely have any screen time. It's the best kind of kill by kill.
Just setting them up and knocking them down.
Very much so. So let's get into it. Let's start off from the beginning. What a wonderful place to start. And of course, that's with opening credits. Now, a lot of people lament the fact that we don't have opening credits anymore. They're put in the back of the film. And I think this is a good reason why here. Now, aside from the oh boy 90s font that we get from
Yeah.
from it's real, would you download a car type of typography.
Yes.
But aside from that, everything like a bunch of deaths are sort of prognosticated in the opening credits here, and I've always really appreciated that. There's the hanging illusion of the puppet that Todd will eventually die from hanging. All this is kind of threaded in.
Yeah.
Sean
The
Scott
fan
is
does
over the guillotine.
Yeah,
There's a
right.
bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And the fan does foretell his death shortly before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And of course, the gravestone of Jim Morrison, which predicts some of the truly horrendous needle drops that we will find in this film.
Like the Nine Inch Nails song actually uses the phrase "Final Destination."
Yeah, it's truly like somebody asked an intern scan lyrics of songs for Final Destination, and like,
where can we find
Nine
it?
Inch Nails?
Works.
We're like, okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Contemporary.
Speaking of some bad music, let's talk about. Well, Nine Inch Nails doesn't quite qualify, but when it comes to our lead character Alex Browning, he's not a Nine Inch Nails fan. Not based on the posters in his bedroom. You know how we love a bedroom poster. So here's how it goes. We're gonna start with him being a big John Waters fan. Is anything about Devon Sawa in this film strike you as John Waters fanatic?
Not so
much. Sure, he could be. We just know so little about him.
Correct.
I mean, he could be a budding cineast. We don't know.
Right.
Very true.
A fan of the counterculture. Yeah.
Yeah. I think they're like, what's a New Line movie? And they're like, John Waters Pecker. And they're like, well, we get us a poster. Let's hang it up with 2 thumbtacks.
Right.
But it really goes downhill from there, because then we learn that Alex loves the Goo Goo Dolls.
Well, I mean, Patrick, it was 2000.
But even I stopped buying Goo Goo Dolls albums circa 1997. This is just really off the pace here.
I mean, do you know what the number one song in 2000 was? The number one pop song?
Oh God, was it a Goo Goo Dolls song?
It was not, but it was.
Was it like Savage Garden or something?
It was Smooth.
Oh,
God.
That was 2000? Wow.
That was 2000.
It had to have been 2000 because that ended up on the soundtrack of the Beetlejuice music review.
Yikes.
That I was helping mount in Universal Studios Japan, and I can't tell you how many times I've heard that song. I mean,
yeah.
I can't.
Yes, and by that you mean the side character in the Howard Stern show. It was his musical review.
Yes. Yes. It's a weird licensing deal. They couldn't clear Warner Brothers, but they could.
But you got Beetlejuice from Howard Stern.
Yeah.
You take what you get.
The people of Japan loved him.
Yes.
He was a singer,
he is big
a
in
dancer,
Japan. So,
a mover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also on the wall, a poster for Canadian post-grunge outfit Mystery Machine, which shows them in retro 70s chords sitting on a shag rug. Wow, they're really breaking the envelope on the 90s aesthetic.
There was a lot of retro shag in the 90s.
There really was. Well, everyone was like, the aesthetic is my mom's basement.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all wood paneling and stuff that should have killed you but didn't.
A lot of orange. We liked orange
that
again.
Mid 90s, Rembrandts and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Just pale browns. Just things that
pale browns is really what gets me going.
It was a time when you were dating someone and you stayed together because you kind of indifferently liked the same movie. You know how it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You both had the same Counting Crows album.
Exactly. Also on the wall, multiple pictures of dogs in different hats.
Sure. Sure.
Several cardboard cutouts of dinosaur bones, which That's the one thing that speaks true of a teenager's bedroom, that like they haven't completely made the turnover of everything that they loved when they were 9. Now that they're 17,
They haven't completely transitioned over to the like Maxim cutouts. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Where are the Maxim cutouts here?
I
That
know.
is
well. It's the penthouse in his drawer.
that's true. Yes, and nothing tells me that someone's a teenager more than the belief that your mom will never look in your drawers.
Yes.
It's like, this is hidden from the world. No one will see it over one pair of shorts.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we learned that Alex Browning and all of the characters here are named after horror writers or directors from the 20s onward.
Golden
something
Age, yeah.
we've already kind of seen in Hello, Mary Lou Prom Night 2, and I think that's where it should have ended.
They did that. They did it well that time.
That time they knocked it out of the park. Every time after, it feels weirder and weirder. And there was something else recently that did the same thing. I'm like, we gotta nip this in the butt. Like this has been done.
It's not clever anymore.
Yeah. Horror is no longer a niche thing if it ever was. So at the airport, we get a quick intro to the rest of the core cast as they're about to board a plane for France.
Let's take a moment. They're going on these high school students are going on a class trip to Paris for 10 days.
Yeah.
How many magazine subscriptions did they have to sell to pay for this trip?
Based on the property values of where they're living, this might have only taken 1 or 2 car washes to get them all the way over the top, Gina.
Yeah, they might have had just the generosity of mommy and daddy to fund that.
Yeah,
thing.
it's
my senior class trip was to skiing up in New York State, and it took us like 2 years to gather the funds together for that.
See, our senior trip was to Disneyland for the grad night, where you would go to Disneyland starting at 10 p.m. and get picked up at 6 a.m.
That sounds way more fun than a skiing trip, honestly.
It is more fun than a skiing trip.
Yeah, absolutely.
With you. So along the way, we hear the one voice say that the white zone is for loading and unloading only, and I can only hear that and go back to airplane as a reference.
Start chastising somebody about getting an abortion. Yeah.
It's the safe and sane route. It's perfectly legal. That voice was right. So we start off with TV's Kerr Smith, hot off the set of Dawson's Creek.
Mm-hmm.
He's very angry. I mean, for someone who's going to Paris for 10 days, he just looks extremely put out about having to go on this trip with his girlfriend.
With his highly attractive girlfriend
to the most romantic city in the world. He's just like scowling the whole time.
Life sucks for him.
He's also life does appear to suck for him. He has an anger management problem that I cannot begin to grok.
He's angry after surviving a plane crash. He's still angry.
He is the most gruntled of all disgruntled.
He's angry even though his girlfriend is constantly on his jock. Is the source of his anger that he is dressed like Ben Affleck? Is that what it comes down to? I don't understand his costuming choices. Speaking of the girlfriend, it's Terry Chaney, played by Amanda Detmer, beginning her horror run here. And I guess she's a Dick's mole. I don't know what her character is. I don't know what her motivation is, I need to climb on top of Kerr Smith every opportunity.
She's a girlfriend.
She is. Top-notch one at that. And then, of course, we have Sean William Scott as Billy Hitchcock, taking a small break from playing dicks to be a dork.
I love him. He's got those what the hell, those malt balls, those little chocolate thingies he had on the Whoppers. He brought Whoppers on the plane.
He does.
Yeah,
He is constantly eating in this as if there's a bet going on behind the scenes.
Now, wait, you said this is all referencing horror directors, and his name is Hitchcock. I don't follow.
Oh, but
that one doesn't quite come across.
I know. Again, for everyone at home who's you might want to have a Wikipedia open as we go through the movie.
Yeah, that's kind of a deep cut. I don't know.
And of course, Sean William Scott appears to be dressed in jorts.
Of course he is. Of course he is. How could he not be?
He literally shows up to this movie in Kevin Smith drag.
Kevin Smith cosplay. Yeah.
It seems like this character was originally written to be played by a much larger actor. Yes. And then he auditioned. They're like, yeah, just give it to him.
Yeah, but
they had already chosen
the script.
And they had already chosen the wardrobe for the much bigger person.
Exactly.
Yes. They're like, I don't know, we'll put you in a belt. It's fine. We film on Tuesday. Make your way up to Vancouver.
Yeah. Ethan Suplee wasn't available,
The real missed opportunity. I will say this, and I can't say that I've seen everything Sean William Scott has ever done. This might be his best performance on screen. He's kind of adorable in this movie.
He acts like someone who has survived a plane crash. Like he's sort of relieved and giddy and
and maybe a little blunt trauma.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, as a kid, maybe dropped as a kid.
Or lead paint chips, something. Early on.
Either will do the trick.
Got kicked by a horse on a
that's a good one. That's an old chestnut.
And then of course we have Allie Larder, whose career takes some interesting turns after this. Maybe we'll get more into her in volume 2, but she is insanely named her character Clear Rivers.
Yes. Yeah, I that's one of those things I had to make sure I'd heard that right.
Yeah. Because half the cast says Claire. Half the cast says Claire.
It's almost like they read the script and they're like, no, that can't be right. That has to be on this script.
Yeah.
This has got to be some sort of typo. I'm just going to make corrections myself.
And the producers just got tired of correcting them after a while, and they're like, okay, fine.
Yeah. And of course, you have Kristen Cloak, who was Glenn Morgan's wife at the time. She's a veteran of Space Above and Beyond. She's playing Valerie Luton, which is real subtle, guys. Real subtle.
Well, they added the 4 letters.
Yeah, there you go. Boom, boom, bang.
There it is.
Kristen Cloak is, and I don't know if it's Cloak or Cloaky, be honest with you. I've heard it both ways. But she needs to come back. She needs to be put on film or TV right now.
She's good.
Great. Mike Flanagan, I know you're listening, because why wouldn't you be? Get her back on screen. She's a perfect Mike Flanagan lady.
She is. Yeah.
She looks like a Mike Flanagan lady. She looks like Mrs. Mike Flanagan.
She does. Yeah. That's what makes a Mike Flanagan lady. If they could be Mike Flanagan's wife, he's like, okay, yeah, put her on screen.
Yeah. House of something, something, and something. You got it.
Yes,
you're in.
Brown-haired pretty lady. It's like Tarantino's feet to Mike. Sorry, Mike Flanagan. I know you're a big fan.
Well, now he's not going to listen to us anymore. You insulted him.
And Mike Flanagan presses pause, delete.
You're saying that brunettes are the feet of his movies?
I'm saying he has a type, and he has a type. And yet, when it comes to men, he likes all sorts of types. But when it comes to women, he's got a specific type. Speaking of types, we have pre-installed millennial hotties. Christina Marsh and Blake Dreyer, played by 2 actresses with SAG cards. And then we have Chad Donella, looking like he's straight off the set of Jim Henson's American Psycho Babies, as Todd Wagner.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
we'll get more into how Chad speaks a little bit later on in the show because there's a better example down the line. But there's something about, I don't know, it doesn't work for me. And then, of course, you have Canada's favorite miniature David Duchovny, Brennan Frere as George Wagner. That's right. Chad and Brennan are supposed to be twins, like a regular Schwarzenegger and DeVito style twins.
Are they supposed to be twins? I have no idea.
They're supposed to be fucking twins. Yes. Now, they're not identical twins. They're fraternal twins because they have completely different noses, neither of which they seem to have gotten from either mom or dad. Just random noses.
Just take it. Just take a Mr. Potato Head nose and smack it on.
Right. Just dozens, like that thing where the magnets, the magnet filings you would move around to make a guy's beard. Gina, what is that again?
Woolly Willy.
Woolly Willy. Yeah.
Yeah. How many times have you reminded me what Woolly Willy's name is?
That's what I'm here for.
5.5 years into this, and I still can't quite remember what that's called. But if you were wondering, Patrick, was this movie filmed in the late 90s? Yes. And how I can prove it is Alex is wearing a bowling shirt.
Yeah. Jerseys and bowling shirts. Yeah.
Jerseys and bowling shirts. It was a time, baby. You can almost sense the Gap commercial that's playing in the back of their minds every day on set.
They are about a month away from the swing music revival.
They really are.
Yeah, well, I think that was like 90, like 97, 98. Yeah, so they're right at the peak of that.
Yes.
Yeah. Boy. Lucky them.
They're various squirrels, nuts, zippers. They're all happening.
Oh yeah. Yes. Those cherry daddies are popping.
Yes. So you can also tell that they're trying to tell the audience that Clear is a bit of a free thinker because she's reading Henry Miller. Freaky.
There's always that one. You got that, that person who's into the Beat Generation. You got the person who's into prominently carrying around the Satanic Bible.
Yeah, exactly. And she's the only person in this film who legitimately comes off like a Nine Inch Nails fan. She also doesn't finish a fucking book. In this sequence, she's opened 3 different paperback books.
That's right.
That she's filled with. She can't decide which she wants to read.
Yeah.
It depends on when the camera is pointed in her direction.
Does she want to read Henry Miller? Does she want to read about the Princess Diana car crash?
Yeah. Something we all needed to read about. Okay. So,
and it falls open exactly to the site of the car crash.
And I think this is the one movie where you can get away with that shit because things are constantly falling open to the thing they need to because there's I don't know. Is death telling them to get off the plane? Is death then telling Alex throughout the movie who's going to be next? Like it's teasing him?
Right. Like why does
is that another force?
Yeah. Like what gives him the premonition?
Right.
Yeah, I think
like if they cheat death, then why did he have the premonition?
Right.
Right. And I think that's, the main thing with these movies is they are fine if you do not give them the slightest thought about the logic behind it because it will not hold up in the slightest.
The logic never held up in Halloween. The logic never holds up in Nightmare on Elm Street. The logic never holds up in Friday the 13th. Like, at a certain point, they're just in a horror movie, and you're in it for the ride, not so much for the trying to figure out the map. That said, they're laying it on a bit thick. Although I do really enjoy the cascading flight board effect, where it ends up on Terminal and Departed, and
oh my god,
canceled. Yeah.
Oh my god, I don't know that I've ever told you, Patrick. I am terrified of flying. I mean, I will do it, but like if you are flying with me, I will be squeezing your hand during takeoff and landing, because like the way he's like sweating and like, just kind of looking at everything, that's me. And this whole sequence, I'm just like,
And that I do enjoy the sort of verisimilitude, like they're laying on the dread of this. You feel it throughout, like something bad is going to happen, and everything is telling him something bad is going to happen. And I mean, I'll give it to Devon Sawa here. Like, you feel that wet streak in his underwear. Like, it's palpable.
Yeah. I think what also really contributes is the someone who didn't get a lot of praise in the film world before she passed was the composer Shirley Walker.
Yes. Yeah.
Her score is so foreboding. It really perfectly builds that tension in a kind of that perfect kind of ethereal way.
Yeah. Shirley Walker really breaking a lot of molds here for people who were doing music for movies at the time. One of the few women composers of her generation to make a lot of appearances.
Oh, yeah.
I wish she was still around. This is a tough transition, but it has to be said. Todd's right. Poop before the plane. I'm sorry.
That was a good move. Yeah.
It really is. It is a very good move, and you should let all that go, especially if you're nearly about to die. The last thing you want is that poop just lingering there at the end of your digestive system when you blow up.
That would be a bad way to go out.
But James Wong, he's an interesting director. Like, he doesn't let the camera just sit there. Like, he's very much in control of what you see and when you see it. There's some interesting swirling shots. There's that shot of when Alex and company are walking down the entry gangplank sort of thing, and they lowered the ceilings to make it look like it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller as they walk. Like, that's just fun, smart filmmaking. But he's also not above an obvious Steve Miner butt shot. He adds that too, because he just knows entertainment.
You got to have them buns.
They really do. And of course, once they're on the plane, it's the 90s. And to be a cool kid, you just have to let that F slur drop. I didn't remember that one. I wasn't a fan.
Well, it's kind of up to like the early 2000s. Little sprinkling, little soups on of casual homophobia.
Oh yeah, that's fun.
And as far as like airplane crash sequences go,
oh god,
that fucking works, man.
Really effective. Yeah.
I mean, even with I love the one shot, and then it goes to the flight attendants after it stops rocking the first time. He's like, "It's okay, it's okay."
Yeah.
Trying to reassure people, and then the entire place rips loose.
No.
When that row of people starts getting sucked out of a plane.
Oh my god!
I am convinced that's going to happen every time I fly. Just plane's going to pop open, people are just going to go flying out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I honestly think that as many movies as we've covered on this show to this point, this is probably the most upsetting sequence to me, anything that we've watched so far.
Yeah, because it taps into a thing that you're already afraid of. And that really works. And I think as we go farther and farther in this franchise, one thing we're going to have to keep in mind is which one of these opening sequences is in fact the granddaddy. Now, this is very small scale. So compared to the others, this is always going to lack for awe factor. And
not for me.
But you haven't seen 2 yet, right?
I know what happens in 2, but okay. I just going by my own personal fears.
Yeah.
I mean, also, what we left out is that they're supposed to be flying out of JFK.
Yeah.
Which would be the airport that I would fly out of if I was currently going anywhere, in a COVID-free world. So, something happened on that plane, I'd be in the drink.
Oh boy.
So that just adds that, that horrifying sense of realism for me.
I do that thing when I board a plane. I look at all the damage it's taken. Like, that is the thing that has stayed with me from this movie. It's like, I always look at that doorway and see where they've had to wedge something in, or it's got a gash. and
That's the idea.
worn.
I do the thing where you like kiss your hand and touch the outside of the outside of the plane when you're going through the door.
You give it a believe.
Basically, yeah. It's like just get me on the ground, man, please.
The one bit that was, talking about things that are really on the nose, the bit of when they're scanning the plane and looking like, oh, there's a baby on the plane. Oh, there's a man with severe cerebral palsy.
Yeah.
It's like, surely this plane won't crash.
Right? Yeah. Let's just take care of all of our martyrs and get them out of the way right now.
Yeah, it does signal to the audience that no one is going to be safe.
Right.
And literally that's a point that's made more concrete the farther it goes on.
Oh,
So again, is this the smartest movie that's ever been? No. But it's it's really good, smart, dumb. Like it rides a sweet line, baby. And I'm into it. Yeah. I'm fucking into the vibe of this movie. It just works for me. So then Alex wakes up from this experience after we see him burned to death on screen. And he's sweaty as all get out. He freaks out. He tries to get off the plane. Everyone's like, well, you're getting off the plane. It's like, I don't need your help. I'm getting off the plane. And he manages to drag 7 other people off with him. And they are all understandably upset. They're all banned from the flight. They're going to have to take another one later on. And as it takes off, Sean William Scott laments, oh, there they go, and here I stay. And then that plane explodes.
Kaboom.
Even better, the shockwave blows out the windows. Like, it's very obvious that this plane has exploded.
Yeah.
What he saw in his mind and how long that took corresponds to the entire plane just exploding. I can't tell you. It's movie magic. Who cares? We don't come to Final Destination for realism, baby. That plane blows up real good. What's not real good is all the ADR shaky breath that we hear after that. It all sounds like one person going.
For all of them, yeah. They were just,
all of them.
Yeah, they were just like they got their one breath guy in, and they were just like, okay,
bring in Jimmy,
right?
He'll do it all.
Breathing Jimmy,
ladies,
yeah,
guys, yeah.
It's like, okay, now a little more feminine breath. Okay, what does the jock sound like? How does he breathe? It's more like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Listen. Why wasn't I hired? Aside,
you
from
could have been the breath
living
guy
overseas at the time.
Yeah.
Here we go. We're not done with characters, baby, because we got 2 new ones making the scene. We got Agent Wine, played by Andrew Roebuck, and Agent Shrek, the second most popular Shrek.
Exactly.
Little did you know?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's of course a reference to Max Shrek.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
There's no other Shreks that we are aware of.
Right.
I love that everyone in this tank that they've placed them in looks at Alec like he's a freak from this moment on. They never look at him right.
God, and they're mad at him.
Yes.
Just something I don't understand. Like, did you mention Todd, his friend?
I mean, yeah, we've talked a bit about Todd and his twin brother dies.
Oh, right. That's right. I forgot that he's the one with the brother because they don't seem like twins. But
exactly.
Anyway, so like the father is just glowering at Alex the whole time. Like
what did you do?
Right. And what was the jerk kid's name? Connor?
I have to scroll back into my notes. These people are so thinly characterized.
Carter. Thank you. He's just like, starting fights with them and don't think I owe you anything. I mean,
my God. It's like,
honestly, I mean, if I would start a cult around this guy.
Yeah.
If I was on a plane with him and he says, we have to get off the plane, it's going to crash. And he was right.
Yeah.
I would basically just put on robes and give him all of my money and worldly possessions.
Yeah.
Sure. It's time to put on paper pants. Yeah.
Yeah. Come on.
Gather around the ashram. Absolutely.
It's like, what do you need? I will get it for you.
Yes. Yeah. They could have brought in that Hare Krishna that stalks them in the beginning of the film.
Yes. Oh my God. That's when you see how what a dynamo Kristen Cloak is. Like, she's so good in that.
Oh, when she makes the little pouty face at the Hare Krishna, I was like, that's when I fell in love.
I mean, and she is like on fire throughout this. Like, she's never not in the head of this character. She's really all of her emotions are right on the surface.
She is someone like already on the brink.
Yes,
like there's some shit in her life.
There is. Speaking of shit in your life, it is heartbreaking to see that everyone's family has shown up except for Clear's. They're like, fuck, no, sorry.
Yeah. We never see her parents. We never see her parents or anybody. Yeah. No guardians. Yeah.
No. It's like she lives on her own. I don't know what teenager lives on her own, but apparently she does, and she's got enough spare money for blowtorch fuel.
Yeah, she's gotten to convert the whole garage into her like workspace for her like Deborah Butterfield like sculptures, you know.
Yeah. Yes, we'll get more into her art later. One of the things that I like about Final Destination is that, especially this one, is that unlike a lot of classic 80s slashers, these characters feel like real teens. They're not mini adults. They feel underdeveloped in terms of their mental capacities. They just seem young and not in any way, shape, or form responsible for the decisions that they make. Unlike on Gina, that Nightmare on Elm Street remake where everyone looked like 25 and up New Yorkers and Freddy Dredd.
Just jaded as possible.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, a couple of these people, I wonder if they can even tie their shoes. But
yeah, but I think that is a piece of what they are going for. It's not
for sure.
It just feels right. It does also, speaking of things that feel right, it's entirely true to form that Terry and Carter cannot stop fucking no matter how many classmates are dead. They're just, her ass is right up into him while they're mourning dead people.
They got to fuck that pain away, you know?
Pretty much. And that brings us, of course, to our favorite Billy Hitchcock. He's a very special boy. And he's trying to get out of Alex what will happen at my driver's test and what will happen if I ask this girl out. And he's like, please stop talking to me. He's like, okay, I'm going to continue talking to you.
Got it. Message received and more words.
Yes. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about Todd.
Yes, please.
Because there's a weird thing happening here where he seems to be the only member of his family who has a Bowery Boys Meet the Gorilla type accent.
Yeah, I noticed that when he's giving the speech at the memorial service, he's like, "When death comes for us, it's it's like what."
Yeah, it almost sounds like he's doing some sort of like a gangster voiceover.
He's like a Bugsy Malone
he looks
or something.
Yeah.
It sounds like Casey Affleck auditioning for Dead Poets Society.
This death, you never know what is going to come to you, so you gotta be ready, right? You're like, what the fuck? What is this? This odd.
He's a very long commute to his high school from the deepest part of Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So let's cut to the Todd Wagner residence here, where we get a vision of their life. And that vision is deep green walls versus a pink carpet. That is a choice. That is a choice.
You know, that is in the late 90s, that was just the cornerstone of opulence.
Very true. And I think this is a new pinnacle. Like, we've never really had a movie that's come close, but Gina, this movie has as many scenes of pooping as Friday the 13th Part 3.
It does. It does.
And is that a compliment?
Sure.
It's an accomplishment.
Yeah, there you go. That's an accomplishment.
It's an achievement. I mean, they did achieve something.
It also matches Friday the 13th, Part 3, in the number of people we see take a poop without their shoes on. So there we go. At least Todd's not in an outhouse. As innocent as Alex is, having circumstantial evidence about plane crashes and the architectural plans of this aircraft in his bedroom actually make him look guilty of something he is not guilty of.
The movie kind of sets up that he's been sort of feeling uneasy about this trip for a while.
Yeah.
And I guess that's supposed to imply that he is, kind of reading up on like the safety and how, the crash records of the airline, or like at the beginning when he's packing his bags, he tells his mom not to take off the tag from the last flight, and because this was sort of superstitious. She's like, that's stupid, just rips it off. Which is really a nice thing to say to your child when your child feels clearly uneasy about something that he's about to embark on.
Your ideas are stupid and your feelings are wrong. Anyways, have fun in Paris.
There you go.
Conversely, I do not understand how the teenager getting off a plane equals $$$ for the FBI. That's a fucking mystery to me.
Yeah, this whole thing where I was doing a little research on this, and so this is the only one of the movies in the series in which it appears that death is trying to frame someone.
Yeah.
Like it's cleaning up its own.
He's taking it personal.
Yeah, it's like covering its own tracks, and
yeah,
like the mysterious water that leaks out of the toilet in Todd's bathroom, and then it kind of recedes.
Yeah,
yeah.
I was never here.
Exactly. It's like that's weird. Why would you do that?
Like they would have Death's fingerprints on file. Like, oh, we've been following this one for a while, everybody.
Yeah. Wait. Yeah.
Todd's death venture goes as thus. We've got blue toilet water, although the toilet water that would be blue would come from the tank, not from the pipe. Anyways, we don't come to Final Destination for realism.
Yeah, no, it's very clean. It looks very clean.
Yeah, that's true. And it's blue so you can track it. I mean, ultimately, that's what it is. So you have toilet water to retractable laundry line to slippery shampoo to strangulation.
Well, I love the build up where maybe he's going to accidentally slash his throat while attempting to shave with which what appears to be in close up a very dull razor.
Yes, and also don't dry shave with a safety razor. That's like fucking safety razor 101, everybody.
Or maybe he'll somehow jam this small pair of grooming scissors up his nose. But no, he gets tangled up in a clothesline, and what actually is horrific death.
And a prolonged and mean is what it. And this is why you don't have a low profile tub, so that you can actually push yourself up with your arms. But he's caught too high here, and the slippery shampoo means he can't stand up straight. And ultimately, it is hard to strangle people, is what it comes down to when you don't break a neck. So when the capillaries in his eyes burst.
Oh, that was rough.
Fuck.
Oh yeah, that blood eye effect. Yeah,
that's hard.
It's fun as an actor though. I can say is when they give you the blood eye, it's like ooh yeah.
That I don't doubt.
Yeah,
and then the other thing here is that those tiny nose scissors. If he had pulled like a miniature dead zone, there's that one scissor death in the dead zone.
Yeah. Yeah, I was waiting for like when I first watched it, I was waiting for like a slip and that tweezer just goes right up into the brain.
Yeah. I mean, I saw this opening fucking weekend.
Oh wow.
And the reaction to some of the stuff in the audience was as raucous as you might imagine, because none of us were really. I hadn't even seen a preview of this.
You didn't know what was coming.
I didn't know what was coming because I had been out of country. So when this thing arrives, I'm like, I'll see a new horror movie. And I don't know where it's going or how it's getting there. And I was on the edge of my seat. And this kind of put me over the top. Like, this is a fun sequence.
What a re-entry point back into the States. Final Destination.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I was flying every 3 months.
Oh, fun.
Oh, God. So, again, as Gina said, why does Death try to make this look like a suicide rather than an accident? Like he's on the run. the FBI knows his MO. Everybody knows Death's MO. People die.
And at this point, we also get the we get the recurring instance of Rocky Mountain High.
Yes.
Recurring theme.
Recurring thing.
Yes.
And so Alex has this premonition when the porn mag he's reading for the articles
of course,
gets shredded by his fan. He's the one guy reading Penthouse for the articles, apparently. And so he goes over to see his friend Todd. And when he's outside, Clear is hiding behind a tree like she's a Keebler elf. Mm-hmm. And she's like, the loudest stage whisper ever is like, "Don't go over there."
Right.
And he doesn't listen because why fucking would he? She looks more guilty than he does.
Right.
At this point.
It's like, yeah, you're weird.
And the FBI is like, you showed up to the death of somebody else, you know?
Womp, womp, womp. Yeah.
Womp, womp, womp. The dad says, he felt guilty, so he hung himself. He's like, why would he hang himself when he made plans with me?
Yeah. He's like, yeah. I love how he phrases like, "Don't you know?"
Yeah,
what?
It's not Sawa's best line reading, but what are you gonna do? Yeah. Like occasionally you don't get a take two. Yeah. But here's the one thing that Devon Sawa really can't control, and it gets weirder the longer this movie goes on. He apparently has been placed in a size of clothing that is unnatural for a man of his frame. Like he showed up to set and the clothing supervisor is like, "What size do you wear, Devon?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know. I'm like an Ohio State linebacker," and that's how he's dressed. Everything is 15 sizes too large for him.
Yeah. Apparently, Ethan Suplee was also going to play his character at one point.
Aaron Suplee was everyone's clothing model.
He was the clothing model for the wardrobe designer.
Yeah, Allie Larder is the only one who escapes this fate, and she's like legally mandated to show 8 inches of midriff at all times. No matter where
none of her shirts fit.
Yeah, well, yeah,
none of her shirts fit.
Well, yeah. To be fair, so is Ethan Suplee. He's also required to show 8 inches of midriff.
So. Then Alex the next day shows up to Clear's house where she's welding in a tiny shirt because why wouldn't you?
Yeah, and a flight jacket.
And she shows him head springy guy, which she denotes as the way he makes her feel. And I guess my question to you both is, do I understand art?
At least as good as I do.
Yeah. So somewhere, the more question is, do you understand, high school to freshman year college art? And I think it's basically just whatever you say it is.
Well, I don't get it.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's the art teacher in Ghost World, where it's like, you bring something in and you say it's a metaphor for womanhood, and that's what it is.
I mean, whoops among us has not had someone in our lives that made us feel like our head is made of metal and filled with holes,
and on a slinky,
a head like a hole.
Ooh,
is a 9 Inch Nails song.
That's right.
So we're back to the 90s again.
Yes.
Back to the 90s.
Yes, please.
And so they decide Alex goes, "I just need to see my friend Todd again." And what better way to do that is to sneak into the funeral home where his body is being interned.
Very liberal open door policy.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's no, yeah. They got past security very easily. I mean, and
Well, they came in through the stained glass ceiling window that all funeral homes have, I guess. This seems to turn clear on, so good for her. It seems totes norms to the max. I don't want to yuck her yum. The weirdest thing about this funeral home, aside from the fact that once they're discovered, no one cares, is that when they sneak out of this room that they've broken into, the door handle is at the level of their forehead. So my question is, do giants run this funeral home?
Well, I mean, Tony Todd is a large man.
He is a very tall. He is a very he's a very very tall man. Yeah.
Yes. And this brings into the film a welcome presence, the one, the only Tony Todd, a man whose voice I could listen to say just about anything.
Yes.
And Tony Todd appears to be having the time of his fucking life.
He's got that one scene, and he really milks that one scene enough that they were like, we got to bring him back. Yeah.
I would bring him back. I want him in everything. Mike Flanagan, why isn't Tony Todd in your next show?
Exactly. Oh, so good.
Mike Flanagan, you're still listening. Put a brown wig on him.
Yes.
Maybe he might look like your next wife. You never know.
Yeah.
Why is Mike Flanagan getting the flack from me? He's done nothing but entertain me, for fuck's sake. Speaking of fucking, my favorite line out of that monologue is when Tony Todd says, "And you don't even want to fuck with that Mac Daddy."
Yeah, the way he says Mac Daddy, it's on the level of how Clarence Williams III says "Welcome to Hell, motherfuckers."
I was just thinking that he was a lot like. I was just thinking he was a lot like that performance. That you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yes. And how has he not been in one of those movies as that character?
Yeah.
I don't honestly know.
He is in the, not as that character, but he is in the wraparound of Tales from the Hood 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I did know that. Oh, yeah, that's right. Absolutely right. But great performance.
Oh, he's so good.
Tells you the mythology without explaining everything. Basically, you have to outrun death's design. And Devon Sawa looks very confused through all of it, but he takes this philosophy on. And so they leave, and the next day they go to your favorite place in town, the Coffee Beanery.
The
Beanery. Of all the fanciful names for coffee shops, the Coffee Beanery is like a 2. That's not great.
Yeah, they could have spent a little more time on that.
So they're out, enjoying the crisp Vancouver spring, I suppose. And Alex sees a bus pass in the window, but a bus can't possibly go that way because there's a giant crane at the end of that street. I'm sure that won't come into play at any point. Anyways, here comes Carter and his girlfriend, and they pull up, and of course he is pissed right away. He almost runs over Sean William Scott on his way over there.
Right.
And it's time to tell Alex a thing or two about how he will never die.
But you should never ever say. You should never utter the phrase, "I will never die."
Yes. Yeah. I'll be right back and I'll never die.
Exactly.
Yes. This is the "I'll be right back" of the Final Destination series.
Yeah, and it's so much more on the nose. It's like not just will you not return, you will just plain meet your demise.
Yes. Carter's just really pissed throughout
in general.
And finally, his girlfriend's fucking had enough of this shit. Terry's like, "I'm sick of this. I'm not going to let surviving this plane crash be the biggest thing in my life." Well, she got her wish because she wanders out into the street during this and gets run over by a bus in a jump scare that I think started the entire 2000s idea of what a jump scare could be, because everyone chased the bus death in this from this moment.
Just
on.
something coming out of the
Yeah.
the other frame like immediately.
Yes. I mean, there were jump scares before this, but the bus death jump scare becomes a thing after this, where every horror movie is trying to attempt this sort of thing,
where it's just
and ruin the good thing.
an epic kill, a sudden
Yes.
epic kill.
Now, neither of you saw it in the theaters, and I did. And I can tell you my audience reaction was loud and shocked and did not let up, I think, for 45 seconds. People were legitimately freaked out at this.
That's great.
And it just tore the place apart. And apparently the scene afterwards in which they're putting Alka-Seltzer in water was extended simply because audiences needed a recovery period after this death to just center themselves at how shocking that was.
That's what they got from the test screenings.
Yes.
I believe it.
They just needed a longer and longer recovery period. And my audience was like talking to one another. We were going through grief. Like, how are you doing? How do you feel now?
Yeah.
This?
There were grief counselors in the lobby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that listen, I could talk about Final Destination all day, but we've reached this first half of the movie. We've reached the end of Volume 1, and of course, everyone knows what that means. It's choose your own death venture time, and that's where we decide of the deaths we saw in this portion of the film. If you were forced to die that way, which one would you choose, and why? So up for bid, we have die in a burning plane crash. Just explode in the middle of the sky. Or you can be in the bathroom where you slip on toilet water, get your neck caught on that retractable laundry line, and slowly, painfully choke to death. Or you get hit by a bus. So, Galen, you're our guest. So that means you go first.
Yeah, I think it's just take the quick exit. It just gets the bus just gets it done with. You don't have you don't have any time time to contemplate. You don't have you're not just completely immolated from 20,000 feet. You're not you're not like grasping with your capillaries bursting and all of that, and slowly dying of brain death. You just get the swift exit. I think it's just nice and not completely clean because there's a little bit of blood splatter, but but also it's a nice it's just a nice little confetti, the little bit of blood splatter on my friends, that's like just a little see you later.
Leave a little bit of yourself behind.
Yeah, exactly. Just
the
like
last thing that's going through your head is the bus schedule, really.
Oh yeah, exactly. Just a little ha ha, little Nelson from Simpsons, little ha ha. You got blood on you. You got me.
So
you got
Galen,
me on you.
Galen, how do you look in white pants? Because that's how you're going out. This is
true.
White pants.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that did make it a slightly tougher sell, but it's like you're dead. It's like they're your pants are ruined either way.
Very true. Gina, what say you?
I definitely would not choose to die in a plane crash, and I don't know what sort of psychopath would choose that. Nor would I choose to slowly choke to death.
Yeah.
Because that just seems an absolutely horrifying way to go. And you're probably going to pee yourself along the way.
Oh, for
exactly.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, definitely just blam, just a bus, but I barely see it coming.
Yeah.
And that also seems on brand for me, honestly. I have to dodge buses just across the street on a daily basis.
To be fair, I've had some close calls myself. So yeah.
So it would not shock me if I do in fact meet my demise in real life by getting hit by a bus.
I almost got hit by a bus in South Pasadena when I was riding my bike.
Oh yikes!
Writing taglines for the relaunch of Melrose Place in my mind. It's still the bus's fault. It literally tried to kill me.
It was a sentient bus.
Pretty much. But yeah, bus all the way, 100%. So that just about does it. But of course, before we go, it's time for plugs right up top. This is our new tradition. Our artwork is by Josh Hollis. You can visit him at joshhollis.com. And our music thing is by Revenge Body. And you can go to revengebodymemphis.bandcamp.com to find more music from him. Galen, where can people hear, see, or read more about you?
You can find me on the gram and the Insta variety at Galen Howard, all one word. And I'm on Twitter at _Galen_Howard_. And then you can find anything else you might have missed at my personal website, GalenHoward.com. And official domain. And yeah.
Perfect. Gina, where can people find and hear more about you on these here internets?
I write about movies and television at thespool.net. And I am on Twitter and Instagram under Gina Does Things. It's GENA Does Things.
Do it today, people. Check it out. Of course, you can reach us on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. Just look up Kill by Kill and you can find us. Of course, we also have our Patreon where we're doing fun things. We have a bonus episode for you in the middle of this month. And at the end, we have Halloween 5. Gina, is there more info about our exponential growth on Patreon?
Yes, we just keep getting new patrons. I don't know where you're all coming from, but I thank you. I would like to welcome Priya, Jessica, Cody, and someone who listed their name as Dark Green. I don't think that's their real name, but you know what? We'll call you Dark Green.
That's the name they chose,
Works for
or
me.
the name their mama gave them. Who's to say?
Yeah, I mean, if a character could be called Clear Rivers, then someone could be called themselves Dark Green if they want
Correct.
to.
Yeah, absolutely correct. 100%. That just about does it for us. But don't worry. Next time we have some After Dark, and then after that, we're back with more Final Destination with a great guest. Until then, don't worry, folks. The body count will continue. Until then, for myself, for Gina, and for Galen. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.